It's an excellent point, Chris. And just to piggyback on what you were saying, Dave Burba.
I didn't realize you guys had started.
Hideki
I
Irabu.
ran up the stairs. I ran up the stairs late and had not realized. I thought you guys were just talking back there.
So,
it looked like you were just talking.
Ramiro Mendoza.
I sent a text as my eyes were heavy. I was falling asleep, and the last thing that I sent was Dave Burba. And what joined me on my CBDMD nighttime CBD experience was a dream that featured one Dave Burba, because it was the last thing I thought about.
Was he in uniform, or how did it
Dave
work?
Burba was a member of the shipping container.
Oh, wow. The dream.
Just trying out.
Wow.
Entry level. Entry level.
So
It's just like a new chapter.
Is it because of how much work you're doing, like interviewing candidates and so many like work-obsessed people running through the doors, interviews? So you thought you were interviewing Dave Burba for a job in the shipping container. What was the role that he would be playing on the show?
It was ambiguous. You know how you lose some of the details in dreams, but the main takeaway was that no one would ever call him Dave. Everyone would just call him Dave Burba.
Like he was a Brazilian, a Brazilian soccer player with one name.
Like we don't have other Daves, but hey, Dave Burba, and he was just making himself coffee. How's it going, Dave Burba? Oh, it's going well. Do you like it? Is everyone being nice to you here, Dave Burba?
And how long did this last? And how were you interacting?
It was
with
a
him?
dream, and I was on CBD, so it felt like forever, and also not long enough.
Were there other people here? Like, did Chris Cody interact with Dave
Chris
Burba?
Cody brought in a card for Dave Burba to sign.
Classic me.
And I had to reprimand Chris Cody. I'm like, hey, Dave Burba's just getting used to all this. We don't want Dave Burba to feel the pressures of being Dave Burba.
I have so many questions. So you always remember your dreams this vividly? Because
you don't forget a Dave Burba dream.
What other interactions were there?
Put that on the poll.
Put it on the poll, Juju at Le Batard Show. Do you forget a dream involving Dave Burba? Were there other interactions with people in the shipping container? Did he want their jobs?
He was just a team member, and it was like the most routine thing in the world to see, hey, Dave Burba's starting on Monday. He's here now. He's a member of our team. It's a new chapter in his career. As background, he used to be the number 4 starter for the Cleveland team.
I've tried to do that before, where right before I go to sleep, I'm like, let me just try to think of this thing, and hopefully I dream about it. It never works, though. I'm jealous.
It only happens on accident, and it usually happens for things that you don't want it to.
Yeah.
This does not sound like one of those experiences. No. It sounds like one of the best dreams you've ever had.
It was because it was a Dave Burba dream, Liddy.
But it wasn't in any uniform. How did he dress for work? Do you remember the details?
Yeah, short sleeve button down. Yeah, I don't even remember what his face looked like.
He was just Dave Burba. He was the idea of Dave Burba was wandering around in your subconscious.
Yeah, I thought it was weird that he was wearing a baseball hat. He should have been in full uniform.
So you had
like the Sports Center offices.
You had him in a button-down, but he was wearing his baseball cap. That's how you.
No, he's like it could have. The person that I was referring to as Dave Burba might not look anything like Dave Burba because I didn't even really think of what Dave Burba's. I think I can draw him from memory, but it's tough. It's just a white number 4 starter from the late 90s.
You haven't seen his face in a very long time.
Right. I had his baseball card, but it was known. The gambit was everybody knew this was Dave Burba, and he's starting work with us.
This is what has happened in the dream, and it's where the show and your job have infected your mind. Faceless Dave Burba is walking around as just a shirt and a baseball cap. And
he was wearing like one of Bob's button-downs. It's like pastels.
All there is between the hat and the shirt, though, because you don't recognize him, is an idea.
Yeah,
is an idea of a number 4 starter, yet everyone in the room knows exactly who he is. He's Dave Burba.
Yeah, well, like part of the background that I don't necessarily recall was everybody knew Dave Burba was working with us at this point. It wasn't odd at that point to see Dave Burba. He was kind of new, but everyone knew that Dave Burba was around.
Are there other interactions? Did he interact with Stugotz? Was there any?
No, he was just hanging around. Like I wish I could remember every single second of the dream, but my main takeaway was like, oh God, I just had a Dave Burba dream, and I'm really enjoying this.
I'm really sad that I didn't have a similar evening with Jorge de la Rosa.
What'd you dream about last night?
Me? I don't remember. Most nights.
I hate that.
Most nights are empty dreams.
The worst, because most of the time it's just no recollection at all. The worst is when you wake up and you have it in your brain for a split. Oh, that was an awesome dream, and then you go to the bathroom, come back, can't remember what happened. Weird.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at Le Batard Show. Do you remember your dreams? There were a handful of things locally I wanted to get to. I didn't know how Mike Ryan and Chris Whittingham felt about Jim Boeheim saying that Wake Forest bought a team, Miami bought a team. Jim Boeheim is out here either approaching 80 or over 80, and Syracuse hasn't won in a long time. But Jim Boeheim is one of the top basketball names, and now he doesn't like what's happening in the sport where Miami bought a team. That's what he says. He says, I don't have that kind of money.
It's funny.
Bro, get out of here.
Jim's never bought a team before.
you had Mello on your team.
Derek Coleman was on your team.
FOH, man.
It's bought a team in the open. That's really the only problem. Is we used to do this with envelopes. We used to do this where I farmed it out to my assistants and I didn't have to know about it. Now it's just out there.
What a loser. Like, they bought a scrappy 6 seed. God damn them to hell. It's just like, what are we talking about? We're not running the sport here. Miami bought a team. That's old money right there. That's old money looking down at new money. He takes offense to Miami being able to level the playing field because historically, some of these great players wouldn't even consider it. Nigel Pack wouldn't go to Miami. Why? Why would you go there? There's no history there. We play in a dome with no air conditioning, even though it's named after an air conditioning company.
Stugotz, this one's funny because Jim Boeheim is longing for the time where it could matter that an athlete went to Syracuse because he had one of the programs that would get you to the pros. And it's been, like 10 years since he had a top 5 finish?
Well, I mean, a top 5 finish, they haven't had more than 2 games above 500 record in the ACC since 2013-14. They were 14-4 then, and they went out in the Sweet 16. But it's not a team that has really had that much success.
I've interviewed him. I don't think he does computers. So when you say they used to do it with letters, he still wants to win recruiting with letters.
Yeah. That was like 7 years ago. He wasn't doing computers.
I know.
Right.
And it's not like Syracuse wants him still coaching the team because they very much, he's like shrugging his shoulders. He evidently gets to leave however he wants to leave.
As he should.
Yeah,
as he should. He's a legendary coach, and this is going to seem like a pot shot. No, but I've been watching a lot of men's college hoops with my wife, a lot of women's college hoops too. But I'm trying to introduce her to some of the legends of the game. We're going to Duke tonight. Very excited about that. Bummed it's not Coach K. But anytime we see Jim Boeheim, I have to have the same conversation. I'm like, he killed a guy. It was just weird. But you're just trying to. That's an aside.
Indisputably a legend.
I knew it was going to come off as cheap, and it wasn't.
Which legend are you introducing Cynthia to tonight? Like,
not just the uniforms, man. Oh, just the uniforms.
Got it right.
Tonight
those are the legends. You're right.
Tonight should be really fun. Home games at the Watsco for the men's and the women's games have been coming along too. They've been doing a better job of reaching out to the student body, and I'm seeing as the seasons have progressed. Granted, the men's team's having a really good season. The women's team a slight disappointment, but they're finding their way. It's starting to become a good atmosphere, and what I'm looking forward to really tonight is the single best atmosphere of this season, and in a building that can be really fun when the students are engaged like that. And we have a really good team. We're undefeated at home. I'm looking forward to it.
I was thinking about this, Stugotz, because we're coming up on 20 years of doing this officially, and my God, our sports teams are losers. Can't create a culture of anything. The Panthers have the best offense we've ever seen, and then right back to 4 games out of the last playoff spot, or 4 points out of the last playoff spot, because that's how we do it around here. We lose for 2 goddamn decades in everything. You can't create a culture of anything. And now that time comes in college sports where you can buy your way in, Miami's in the game.
Yes, that's what we're good at. Yes.
College basketball, Miami can get in the game, climb over the typewriter of Jim Boeheim, and buy themselves a team.
We're great at buying our way in, but we did have the run with the Heat and the culture created with the Heat. That's it. That's been the one thing over the 20 years.
Forgive me because I left that part out, and it's all we've had. And now people are getting mad because the Heat haven't made a trade in 700 days. Now people are really mad at Pat Riley, why didn't you get Kyrie Irving?
Oh, Pat, you magnificent bastard. Pat, this season is working out so well. You kept your cards close to the vest, and you even had me confused at the strategy. But the Heat's starting to play a little bit better, and Brooklyn has blown up. They've totally blown up. And now the Sharks are circling the Kevin Durant waters yet again. And we are well positioned.
Do we owe Bam an apology this show?
For what?
Amin wasn't addressing him by name. Mike blew the whole team up early in the year.
Yeah, he's an all-star. He's had a good season. It's weird what's happened where I went from one of the more pro Bam people in the nation where I was comparing him like he's got a pretty reasonable comp to Giannis in terms of being able to carry the ball and initiate offense.
I mean, hold on a second.
That was outrageous. Giannis is one of the best players on the planet, but I projected the jump to all-star that he inevitably make. Bam's a legitimate all-star. He's a superstar in that league. And what I need to see from Bam...
A star, not a superstar.
Okay, fine. He's a max player that has made now multiple all-stars. So
He's a star, Mike.
But
yes.
I agree with Dan. He's not really getting stopped in the street unless you're an NBA fan. Or even how tall that person is. That person must be doing something.
I think superstar would probably like you would have this person as your lead guy en route to maybe winning a title.
Right.
Like
he's a superstar, and if you love the NBA and you live that life, you'd maybe
he's a superstar of efficiencies, of superstar of advanced stats, defensive metrics.
Regardless, I'm getting bogged down. What I need to see from Bam is in the playoffs. It's just. It's kind of a between the years thing with him. Will you take that shot? Will you take that shot to make it? Or are you just going to take that shot so we leave you alone? And are you going to rush the shot? It was jumping off the screen with him. I want to see if he can answer the bell come postseason time.
I'm imagining like normal people seeing Bam and just saying, hey, that guy, he probably does something. I have no idea who he is. But a bunch of nerds seeing Bam and being like, there's Bam.
By the way,
there is Bam. He is the guy, superstar.
By the way,
not a superstar.
To a degree, he did kind of
just of metrics.
Right.
To a degree, he did kind of conquer some of those hurdles against the Celtics. He had a game for the ages with a shorthanded Miami. Jimmy Butler went out, and Bam was unstoppable one game. And then what happened in other parts of the series was he kind of disappeared for a little bit, but I just need to see a consistent star performance in the postseason.
Let me stop all of you on this because I don't know if you're allowed back on the bandwagon because you've blown it up a couple of different times. You've been a traitor. The Heat have gotten back to me and they're like, "What is wrong? Like, what is wrong?" What is wrong?
That's rich.
With Mike
I've heard your frustrations internally, guys.
And
we've all asked
Kyrie becomes available yesterday, and they were interested in Kyrie only at a certain price because for whatever the culture talk is, and this was something that was disagreed about at the top levels, but whatever the culture talk is, they really like bargains and they really like stars, and why wouldn't they be interested if you could get in the game? And somehow, bargain. You don't know. You take a chance on a monster talent because Mike Ryan's frustrated with Kyle Lowry. It's the last part of Kyle Lowry's career.
Right. When the Heat are texting you about like what is Mike talking, do they also follow that up with, man, he was so right about Kyle Lowry?
That is not what happened.
Really? Can you just take a moment and tell me?
Let me just.
They should give you that. I'm with you. Yeah,
they should.
Right.
Everyone should. Go back though for a second and just ask you. If the whole roster is out there, there's no one on it that's untouchable, right? As the trade deadline approaches, Bam would be the closest thing that he'd have to something that is untouchable because they believe he's the centerpiece of everything they do defensively, and they can be championship elite defensively if he's the centerpiece of everything they're doing there.
In terms of getting Kevin Durant, yeah, if you have to give up Bam to get Kevin Durant, you give up Bam to get Kevin Durant.
But stop for a second, because if Kevin Durant is again the conversation, he's going to want to play with Bam. I'm just asking you about untouchables as they head into the trade deadline, even if it's not Durant. I'm asking you, who is Riley absolutely not trading? Because I don't know that the answer to that is nobody other than Bam.
But I wonder how much has this organization changed in the last few years? Because for the most part, their current rotation is Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and a bunch of undrafted guys that have elevated, and Tyler Hero as well, but a bunch of undrafted guys who have elevated and performed really well. But I do think that this organization has changed a little bit to a draft and develop team. They took a huge swing on Jimmy Butler and it's worked out, but the big swing Miami Heat have not really existed for a while. They've actually kept their powder dry on trading their draft picks. They actually have a lot of their draft picks now for the first time in a while.
I think the question is, or the question Dan's trying to ask is, do you give up Jimmy Butler to get Kevin Durant?
What I'm just saying to you, I'm not even doing that, Stugotz. The trade deadline's approaching. You guys like the trade deadline. It's been almost 700 days since the Heat did anything like this. You've seen a bit of a decline, and Bam's a little bit better. This will continue. Jimmy will continue to get just a little bit worse because of his age. Doesn't mean very much that he's a little bit worse. He's still great, but just his age suggests that he'll be available fewer games, that he's not Jimmy. We can make this claim without dispute, right? That Jimmy Butler would be headed to whatever is the descent on his career. Soon, if not now, and it might be by imperceptible percentages.
On the back end, yeah.
But Bam is what he is, but he's slightly better than he's been. And the thing that I fear as you enjoy watching the Nets implode is that I don't know how you stop Giannis. Like, he had Middleton back, and I'm looking at Giannis. I'm like, how does anybody do anything against him other than foul him?
Bam's had good individual matchups with Giannis, and the hope is if you get that far, that Bam is who you throw at Giannis.
They need to take several steps forward, though, before they get to that point.
No, yeah, this isn't about that. And please, let me take the opportunity once again, like, Bam is not on the same planet as Giannis. When we were just projecting talents, we're just talking about what he could do with the ball in his hands, initiating offense.
The weird part about this team, though, when you look at the trade deadline and you're looking for big swings and guys who are untouchable or unmovable, is Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, and Tyler Hero are all having incredible individual seasons when they're on the floor. Jimmy Butler has not been worse. He just hasn't been as available as usual.
The role guys.
Bam Adebayo has been better than he was. Tyler Hero has been better this season than he was the year before as well. So all of these guys have taken steps forward. It's just they can't shoot for shit. Like, they just cannot shoot. All these role guys who overachieved the last couple of years and developed, I mean, they're just not shooting the ball well. You look at Kyle Lowry, you look at Max Strus, Duncan Robinson when he was out there playing hurt, Gabe Vincent. All these guys are shooting lower than they did last year. This team just has to hope, I think, realistically coming to the deadline, that a couple of little tweaks from there, but you can't blow it up because individually with these individual players, I don't know that you're going to get anything of value unless it's Kevin Durant that gets you the value back that you're looking for. That's the one problem.
Mike wanted to blow it up. Mike doesn't want a couple shooters at the trade deadline. Mike wants to magically turn Kyle Lowry, Duncan Robinson, and Yurtsevin into Kevin Durant.
Let's go.
I'm in.
Mike, do you think George Hill has packed his bags yet?
I think George Hill lives in that George Clooney apartment from Up in the Air, where it's just a refrigerator full of condiments and a bag he hasn't unpacked since 1988.
Put it on the poll, please, Juju. Does George Clooney...
George Hill.
George Hill, I'm sorry, my bad. Live in Clooney's apartment from Up in the Air. Because he's going to be traded again, right? They're saying that he's...
Bags are packed, yeah. Never unpacked. Mike is right about that.
That's Thursday. You're going to be at the Super Bowl, correct?
Yeah. It's George Hill's day, though.
Wow,
I mean, it
three
is.
major events on the Stugotz calendar.
You know what we should do?
Super Bowl, the People's Major, and the NBA trade deadline.
Please get the imaging right now. I want to do, just like ESPN invented an MJ Day last week, let's do Thursday as officially George Hill Day. I want to just celebrate it as if it's a holiday of some sort. And then when he gets traded, we can react during live programming.
Yeah, you do this every year. Don't poo-poo him. Could be a missing piece.
But I want to officially, though, I want to make it our day. I want imaging. I wanted George Hill because I thought that was totally absurd what ESPN did for no reason. Is MJ calling in a favor because he wants to bother LeBron James during, like, what are they doing?
It was 2-3-23. It doesn't happen. Wait till 4-5-45. We'll have our next MJ Day.
You guys like the idea of MJ Day?
Yeah, I bought a pair of
Jordans.
It worked.
Yes.
It worked.
Kidding me?
So just once, you want to do it every year? You want to do it more? You want to do it more than once a year?
In his mind, every day is MJ Day.
It really is. Certainly during the basketball season, especially postseason.
He took two championships away from the most gifted big man in the post we've seen in our lives, in Hakeem Olajuwon. Just
the dream.
Yeah, he just took two of them away from him.
Are there Heat fans that wanted Kyrie Irving?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I would have been
a lot of them.
I would have been down.
I would think a lot. I would think the majority.
I would have been down. He's a really good player. He's a nut, and I'm not sure it's a good move for Dallas, but it's just
He's talented, Woody.
It's
That's it. Talent's talent.
I know.
mean,
It's so funny how everything went sideways on Brooklyn, and if only someone could have seen this all coming.
But that's the thing, though, is that when Kyrie, Kevin Durant, and James Harden joined together, you're like, they're going to win championships forever. And they didn't even get to a conference final because of Kyrie Irving's complete and utter unreliability.
But still,
you cannot rely on him to be there for 5 months.
But having said that, you would probably say right now Dallas has more of a chance now than they did before.
Yeah,
yesterday.
I mean, because before they didn't have a running mate for Luka.
That's what I mean. Like that combo, like
but even
whatever you
like,
say about Kyrie, that's an intriguing combo.
right.
But when you
so-
have the Nuggets, the Kings, the Grizzlies, those teams up top in the West, like now you have a chance. Like Dallas has a
but wait,
chance.
but Mike's making that face. I could see the face Mike is making because I think a lot of people questioning that trade are just saying, okay, both those guys need the ball all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
This
It's
isn't
not,
even-
it's not the ball. It's not the ball for me. It's normalcy. Kyrie Irving, if you look at his 4 years in Cleveland, his 4 years in Cleveland, his 2 years in Boston, his 4 years in Brooklyn, is there a 12-month period of normalcy? 12 months.
No.
And you're relying upon this guy who is not going to sign a contract extension yet to be normal for the next 5 months. We were saying, oh, Brooklyn, look at how well they're playing. And then all of a sudden he blows it up. He's in Dallas. You cannot rely on this person. I'm surprised that like their title odds went up from I think 19-1 to 14-1 just by making this trade. And they're going to have some great nights together. Luka and Kyrie that's a great combo on paper. But how can you possibly rely? I can't imagine the Heat signing up for, we'll deal with the crazy. The crazy is going to win.
Have you not heard? I mean, just melt it down to its bare essentials. He's better than Kyle Lowry, and they need shooting.
Yeah, that's why to answer Dan's original question, I would have been all in on getting Kyrie's because we know the ceiling of this team as it stands is not Eastern Conference Championship good. We know that. We know it. So why not just introduce this crazy element into the fray and see where it goes? It's a rental. You don't have to extend him. And I think it was a good move, even though I have my questions about how it works on just not only off the court, but on the court. If you watch Dallas, Luka has to touch the ball every play. That's how I love how they run their offense. Best player touches the ball all the time.
He can't change at all. He can't change it up at all.
He's never had a teammate like
Right.
Kyrie Irving. That conference is especially wide open. I won't look at you funny if you tell me you still like Anthony Davis and LeBron coming out of that conference and they wouldn't even make the play-in right now. It's a wide open conference. So I think that's what Mark Cuban was doing. He knows that he doesn't have a Western Conference championship winning team with Spencer Dinwiddie on there, though he was a good player for them. This is a move in seeing the landscape in your conference to just go for it.
And you know Kyrie wants to get paid in the offseason, so like I guess you're going to get him on his best behavior.
How can you say that?
I'm just
You
because
can't
I
say
assume
that.
he
Like,
wants to get
when-
paid by somebody.
What he keeps acting the way he acts and keeps getting rewarded for it. So what makes you, to Woody's point, what makes you
Well,
think
no,
he's
he
like
wasn't
the
rewarded
first,
this
like-
time. Hold on. This was
he
not
traded to Dallas?
I know, but he wanted to go to the Lakers. Like, that's where he
Well,
wanted.
now he has a road to the lake. I
you
mean, he
see
had
the-
one anyway, I guess.
Did you
but-
see the report that Phoenix offered Chris Paul in a trade for him? I found that interesting. Mark Sen and Chris Haynes tag team that report. And right now, Phoenix is aggressively pursuing Kevin Durant. The Heat didn't leak it to any of the reporters, but you know they're kicking the tires on that possible deal. It was funny that this was how it ended. I've been so accustomed to seeing a Kyrie Irving trade demand or some Kyrie craziness that this one just rolled off my back when I saw that he requested a trade. I'm like, okay, all right, they're just going to keep playing you. And then it happens kind of quickly that I was really surprised by it. I didn't expect them to actually follow through with it, especially with Durant out. This would be the window.
and
you
they've
just
been great.
swallow the
They've been
crazy
great.
for a couple of months.
They are great when they're there. They are a great basketball team.
What do we do? We have a Kyrie Irving with a sour taste in his mouth. Oh, okay,
Right.
That's business as usual for the Brooklyn Nets. I thought for sure he'd stay there. I was really stunned that they pulled the trigger.
I'd stay put if I'm Kevin Durant. This is an opportunity. This is a window.
To win personal record book, to change something
Dan?
in Stugotz's personal record book.
Do what I've asked you to do all along. Stay put. Take Nick Claxton, Dorian Finney-Smith, Ben Simmons, and the Curry brother nobody wants. take those guys and win an NBA championship
I'd
with
love
those
that Curry
two.
brother.
Okay?
I wish the Heat would
Okay?
trade for that Curry brother.
This is a window for Kevin Durant to show the world why many people say he is the most talented basketball player we've ever seen.
Jeremy,
he has a window.
Your face, you've been making faces throughout this. You are embedded with both the Marlins and the Heat as part of the coverage here.
It's great to
locally.
hear him just groan when we're having conversations
you've
and he
been
doesn't have a
making
mic.
You've been making faces this entire segment, so the floor is yours. You tell me both what I felt Heat fans wanted Kyrie. They got awfully forgetful. It's so great. It's just when sports fans, maximum sports fan, like Whittingham is here alone, yelling into the wind, guys, you've been watching the last 7 years of this particular insane, right? We've all been watching it, laughing at it, criticizing it. And the moment the shooting slumps, you want the crazy anti-vaxxing. I'm doing it for the people, lunatic. I might be an anti-Semite, but I'm not going to walk it back. But now I am, and pay me my money. You can't trust me at all.
I've been watching Aaron Rodgers, him lying about vaccines, him not playing like he used to last year for a couple of years. Give him to me right now. I want him right this second as the Jets quarterback.
The worst sports fans. The worst.
I couldn't agree with Woody more. Like this is insane that Heat fans just seem to forget everything that's been going on with Kyrie Irving. And yeah, obviously, like there are some basketball things that Kyrie theoretically could fix if he was on the floor for you. But I mean, if there is a place that a maybe anti-Semite would be welcomed less than Brooklyn, it might be Miami. Like, I can't think of a worse place for Kyrie to go. And also, like, it's all just very funny that right now, in the middle of all of this, as this is happening, we get, like, the Myers-Leonard apology video for the first time, the Reclamation Project. Like, we got that coming through, I believe it was Outside the Lines. Like, it was just so funny to see the difference between those two as Heat fans are now clamoring for Kyrie Irving. It's just, being on Heat Twitter is a whole other animal.
The Heat, you've seen some measurements recently about the Heat fan being the most miserable, pessimistic, and negative of all the fans in basketball. However it is you measure these things. And it must be so because it's unreasonable. People have grown up with this ridiculousness over 20 years. Imagine just Miami. Just Miami generally dumb. Just generally dumb. A bejeweled dumpster. Miami has gotten 20 years of, we're fighting the country. Woo, LeBron and Dwayne and Bosh. And then for the last 8 years or so, it's been really interesting and great, but not interesting enough because it wasn't that. It wasn't the crazy Pat Riley hasn't done anything. Riley, you bum. It's only with the Eastern Conference Finals. The last couple of years, you stink. Old. Dead man vampire. You haven't done shit in 2 or 3 years. You traded for Lowry because you trust the old veterans. Fix our team. What an unreasonable fan base that gets forgetful. And Mike Ryan, you're right there. You're right in the middle of it, emotional with everybody else. Halfway through the season,
he's stirring the pot.
You forget everything. And if they get Durant today or tomorrow or this week,
I'm in.
Yeah,
I'll start watching their games against the Hawks. You have my word.
Very nice of you.
You haven't watched any of them.
I barely
this
watch
season.
them. No, fan with. Like I told you, I'm not going to tune in and watch Kyle Lowry look good for the first 2 possessions of the
Thanks,
game.
Mike.
And then
He's watching college hoop.
watch a Calypso, Jerry Bear.
Introducing Cynthia to the legends of the game.
Who's there? Who's going to be there to explain vehicular manslaughter to Cynthia at men's college basketball games? You, Jeremy Taché? No. You won't be there. I'll be there.
The other thing that's a lot of fun to watch happen on Heat Twitter is the number of people getting Kevin Durant with Dewayne Dedmon because they're tired of Dewayne Dedmon, who since he threw that thing on the court, since the Theragun, it is weird. I don't know what's been happening in that cult facility of theirs to the guy who gets a technical foul for not, in a close game when he's not playing because Robinson is taking his minutes.
No, you're right. The mechanic seemed like such an even-keeled guy. I mean,
but he's been a disaster. He's tackling people out there. He hadn't played in a bunch of time, and now everybody wants to be done with him because sports fans are cruel and mean.
And they're going to get Kevin Durant.
And they're going to get Kevin Durant with him. But something happened this weekend, and I don't know. I can't apologize to the audience because I never cared. about whether Vic Fangio was the defensive coordinator for anybody.
Thanks.
It's not something I've ever cared about in my life, and you guys have found our coordinator coverage lacking, even though it's been covered here. I just don't care that he's the highest paid assistant, and it's not because I don't think he'll be good, and I imagine that he'll coach up the defense, and that'll be a valuable hire, and I don't understand enough about how you make defenses great, and he'll figure out how to do something. But you just can't make me care about that at this age in my life. you can't.
Totally fair.
You can't.
You're
You
right.
can't make.
Yeah.
You can't
Yeah.
make me care about who the coordinators are. As I've seen so many Dom Capers recycled through here, and the Dolphins have had 10 offensive linemen in 9 years, or offensive line coach in 9 years. 10 in 9 years, and they can never block anybody. And every year they tell me this is the guy who's going to teach them how to block.
I kind of want to play the game now of let's find the D coordinator that would have excited Dan. Rex Ryan.
No, I just think it's a certain, as you get
Nothing?
older, certain things you care less and less about. And I am with Dan. I no longer really care who a D coordinator is.
Rob Ryan.
I just know.
It would have got you? Rob Ryan would have got you?
I don't think so.
Not as a
Maybe
coach,
Dan.
as content. The Ryan brothers. If maybe
A tandem, the first tandem coordinators ever.
Because there's no salary cap. Just hire them both.
They come out on a bike, a tandem bike.
Yes.
Yes.
Just for the content, and they show up in a van full of pizza boxes, yes, at the stadium. But that it wouldn't be because of their defense.
Go eat a snack.
And so that makes me a jerk, right? Because Mike Ryan is out here telling me last year how great it was that the University of Miami got the assistant coach of the year.
Hey, Coy.
And his coverage was very good about this on why it is that he was fired. But he was fired after the coach of the year. Like, what do we know about what we're doing? When that's how it can go, where you're the assistant coach of the year in college football, and the next year you're fired.
Miami's got to find a defensive coordinator now, too, because Nick Saban hired Kevin Steele away. So Mario Cristobal has to fill two coordinator positions in year 2.
But when it comes to Fangio, I mean, you look at a Dolphins defense last year that perceivably underperformed. We were talking before the year about, them having 2 great corners, albeit one wasn't healthy and the second wasn't that much healthier. And they have talent at every level of that defense, and they gave up enormous plays because it seemed like they were fairly predictable with running these A-gap blitzes and going 0 blitz and being like a frustrated 11-year-old on Madden with their defensive scheme. So people think that Vic Fangio can fix that. And that, I also think it's interesting when you mentioned highest paid, $4.5 million a year. I don't think we've realized how high coaches' salaries have gotten, and also how much owners recognize that that's the one area that, because of no salary cap,
What
they
is
can have
Dan Quinn
advantages.
making? Like a lot, right?
Yeah,
It's like $9.5 million a year.
No. Vic
no.
Fangio is on the
Fangio's
highest salary
highest
at
paid.
$4.5 million a year.
Really?
Yeah.
Wink Martindale, get your juices flowing.
Wink.
Every time I hear that name, it excites me just because he used to be a game show host, and one of the best, I might add.
Different guy.
And the greatest of all the game show names ever for a host. You can't do better than Wink Martindale. Put it on the poll, please, Juju, at LeBatard Show. How do you know the name Wink Martindale? Game shows or football?
Game shows. What was I doing there with what's his face, with that coach? $4.5 million a year. Dan Quinn. Yeah, why do I call him what's his face? I had him at $9.5 million. I don't know how many head coaches make $9.5 million.
I don't know why you did that. It was very weird.
He's at 4.5 as well.
You were
It's
in.
weird.
You were
Yeah.
very eager to get into the assistant coach
I don't know
talk,
what happened.
and there was
I'm
money
bored
around
by it. You're
money around it. And I will say again to the audience, am I supposed to apologize for that? That our coverage was found lacking on Dolphin defensive coordinator talk.
No, we also covered a fake photo of him at a Cracker Barrel, so we were on. We were on.
Wait a
this
minute,
since
that
last
was
week.
Greg Cody. Cody, but I thought Greg Cody said he personally saw him.
Yeah, and then
He did.
Then
What
we
he
started
does.
asking follow-ups.
I can't wait till he gets here tomorrow. Chris Cody, that video you put out is one of the greatest things I have ever seen.
Just Uncle Dick stretching his neck during the PFBI gala.
Chris Cody took you into the bowels of his home, a home whose living room has not been changed since 1980, as a suit-wearing Greg Cody led a ceremony of bored family members tolerating his fantasy football.
My 5-year-old with the least amount of
No,
energy she's ever had in her life.
Your
just like,
video, I cannot give these people enough. The grainy footage, it looks
It
like
is grainy.
It was.
He's put out videos from this for the last 3 years, and every year the lights get more yellow.
Mike, what Chris Cody put out, I believe, is a work of art. The video was jaundiced. The living room is jaundiced.
It's like once you walk through the threshold of that home, your cell phone becomes a JVC camcorder from 1998.
Full coverage on this week's Greg Cody Show podcast.
Billy, I think we have not told the audience this, and maybe I'm revealing something that I should not be revealing, but recently I heard you and saw you in meetings where you were talking about your horror movie. And what I'm telling you is in the right light, with a little different light, what I saw in that living room, Greg Cody bringing back the haunting past of terrorizing an abused family who didn't want to do this ceremony where he is commissioner, and it looks like it's something from the 1960s. Billy, you could have made a horror movie. You and Chris could make a horror movie out of that that many people would want to watch. Horrifying.
That looked like a fun day. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, it's one of those things
For
where
Greg.
we love to make fun of it. So, like, we kind of we make fun of it the whole time while we do have an appreciation for my dad and how
I hope
great
he leaves
is.
you nothing in his will.
Right. I mean, I do. People come after me on the internet about how I should appreciate him. Well,
Your brother too. Like I don't want to
appreciate-
take a shot at your whole family. Your brother seems more disrespectful.
He is. Him and my dad. He goes at my dad hard.
It's hurtful to me
Anyway,
as
it's
someone who's not a member of that family.
But my dad likes it. Like, it's one of those things where it's the way it's how we roll. He does wacky stuff, and we kind of make fun of it while we also love it.
But you've got to admire that he grinds right through. Uncle Dick is not pretending for the cameras that he cares about what's going on.
Nobody does. And the crowd and the tone of the speech gives off middle school assembly that no one wants to be at.
It was a family being pelted with boredom that was reacting with profound indifference, and your dad barreled through with the ceremony, with the circumstance. He was giving stats.
He's just like the Crusaders won 4 in a row from weeks 12 to 16.
like weeks leading. Like we're my brother ends the video with just the word minutia, because it is just he through every statistic of like this guy I led 4 weeks of the 17. Mom's Maniacs led 5.3 weeks of the. It's just like
You'll miss him when he's gone.
I know,
man.
trust me.
I
Come
mean,
on.
I don't know.
I'm
That's-
just saying. I'm
I
not
don't
saying
know.
he's leaving anytime soon.
I'm
not certain.
I appreciate it and love it, but I can also it would not be as fun if we didn't make fun of it. He likes us making fun of it. Trust me, it would be even more sad if we sat there quietly.
Well,
it's fun.
we will
That's
ta-
part of the tradition is us making fun of it.
We will talk to him about it because he's also very sensitive. So you never know when he's going to get his feelings hurt.
He got it. It was once during it, and you can hear it on the podcast where just in the middle, I was just like, Greg reading. I hit him with that, and that triggered him. That was the only time during it where he got a little upset with me, and he went on a little tangent.
because he was reading and didn't want to
Just 'cause,
appear
like-
too broadcastery,
Yeah, so, like,
and
Dad,
you
you're
were saying
reading-
he's not natural.
Well, because he opens with this speech, and you'd think it's just him talking to his family, so he could just wing it. It's him reading word for word an opening remarks, and it's just, Dad, just talk to us. He's just, it's ridiculous, but we love him. I do love him. I love it. People
We
on the
know you
internet
love him.
I don't
have
know.
been coming after me last night, which is you should appreciate. I wish I am very appreciative of my dad, but I'm also going to make fun of it. I'm sorry. It just has to happen. I'm emotional.
Billy,
Hey,
what was that?
I guess we all show love different ways.
Your thoughts are what? As someone who lovingly produces the God Bless Football podcast that now heads to Arizona tonight. Tonight, you guys fly out, correct? Billy, what is your general feeling about what you're embarking on here? Because you're basically also kind of producing your father.
No, not the case. I'm babysitting someone who an older child who doesn't like to behave, I would say. I can't wait for the Super Bowl.
What are
to
you
be
talking
over.
about?
This has just been a mess since the beginning. Planning has been a nightmare. I want it to be done.
But you wanted to go, no?
We're not there yet.
I know. I wanted to go, and then it's been made very difficult to get there. So I'm just like, Yesterday I got a request, hey, let's go to the golf tournament. And it's like, we have things scheduled at that time. How am I going to make that happen? We're not going for a golf tournament.
The Waste Management golf tournament?
That's the one.
Yeah.
I thought we were doing that. I thought you guys did want to do that originally.
I mean, I would love to sit at the 16th hole, the craziest hole in golf. It's a big party there. I think me and Billy would have fun. We'd get good footage. But if Billy says we have other work to do, football work to do, then that's the work That's the priority that we have to go with. I want to be there so badly.
Dan, if you need that golf tournament covered, Tony and I are willing to go.
Well, who's going to the Super Bowl? Who's going?
Juju, Stugotz, Billy.
And Danny will be recording. But
Jess is out there.
Jess is out there as
the
well.
camera hasn't made it there yet. So
Andrew Hawkins is out there. Andrew Hawkins is out there. Amin is out there for us as well. Is he not? Is he going to?
He lives there.
Yeah, he lives there.
I would not count on Amin.
I believe I heard him say Thursday, am I seeing you guys next week?
yeah.
I've gotten one Super Bowl text from Amin. It was, "Can you get me into Shaq's Funhouse?"
This is all that's happening.
Well, I got
around
the
here.
one last year. Was like, "Can you get me tickets to Waste Management?" I don't know why people think I have anything to do with the Waste Management, and I'm like the Waste Management plug. Everyone keeps asking me like, "Hey, can you get me in? Can you get me credentials?" Like, no,
Billy, because
can't do anything.
In this instance, when you consider what it is that you're doing for us and Meadowlark and the growth of your career, you are in waste management. It's almost literally what you're doing.
That's true.
I can't wait.
What is this going to be, though? Billy wanted to go so
Did
badly.
you see the field?
No.
Oh, it's like 23 of the top 24.
Really?
Yeah.
People's
People's major.
Billy, you wanted to go so badly, and now you haven't even gotten on the flight yet. You're already defeated.
Yeah, I mean, I tweaked my back Saturday and I couldn't walk, so that was another thing. Like I was in the ER and I had crutches because I literally couldn't support my own weight.
No.
So now I have a flight to come, and just when you think things are locked in, plans are always changing, and it's like let's just
That's
get
Super
back
Bowl
to
week,
that.
man.
Billy, I thought, forgive me, we did not talk about why you wanted to go. Did you wanted to go?
Well, I thought that as a media company that covered sports, we'd look silly just not covering the Super Bowl. So I was trying to help out the company as a whole, but it's hard to just take off the biggest sporting event of the year.
No, I don't know. Our media company, I don't know.
That's why his back hurts carrying us to the Super Bowl.
Waste managing.